Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Proving Grounds Pod, your one-stop shop for all things Proving Grounds. My name is Smax, and I'm joined by my constant co-host Cubby. And today we have with us a very special guest for episode 28 of the podcast. It is none other than Chad Jungle, or as we'll just refer to him from here on out, Chad, the current jungler for 100 Thieves Next. Chad, how are you doing today?
I'm good and great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to hear you doing great. You just qualified for Proving Grounds with your squad in the third place match of EGL, and you've been on this team for the entirety of the summer split. Uh, how has this team been for you over the summer?
It's been great. It's my first official real team, you could say, and I think the transition's been really smooth. I have friends on other teams that had rough patches or egos colliding, and everyone on the team is just really nice and yeah, it's just a really easy team to become a part of.
So for you, you stepped in after the spring split, and I think that we'll talk about like your time in the spring a little bit later. But I'm kind of curious, like, what was that process for you like starting off, like going through those tryouts and like getting incorporated like into the Hunter Next lineup? Like, what went into that process of like trying out?
I'd say to start it off, I kind of always knew I wanted to be 100 part 100 next. Even back in spring before they announced their new roster, I was always looking in like a little rodent to sneak into the roster. I was friends with Kenvi before he joined 100 next, and I always knew that I wanted to follow down the exact same path, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of so I always every couple months I'd message Fallen Bandit like, yo, anything opening up, any chances, what's going on, right? I was always trying to sneak in, and then in this end of spring, spot opened up, and I DM'd him and he said he'd keep me in mind. And then after a couple weeks of waiting, he said he just wanted to watch some of my VODs. And then after that, I played in the Wildcard Combine, where I was also still being watched. And then that was, I guess he liked what he saw.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That
The
was
Wildcard Combine was a really fun event. I helped out for a little bit of that.
Yeah,
There's
I,
some
I didn't
really
realize that
really good
like you
players
went
there.
that far back with Kenvi and Fallen Bandit too. That's actually a like pretty interesting backstory to like get started with Hunter Next.
Yeah. I just knew that I kind of predetermined on it. Kind of just like, okay, I'm gonna join this team, and then I'm gonna go to academy, and then I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew that 100 Next was the amateur team I wanted to join, and that was like what I was most focused on, and it came true. So
Yeah, that's really cool. The determination there to just message Fallen Bandit over and over.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
we've been there. We've tried to get him on this show, and he keeps turning us down. So, based on that timeline, I guess we just have to give it about a
Oh
year,
yeah, just
and
keep spamming him. He'll love that.
yeah, it'll be good.
We got it.
Sounds like it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got you here. You just qualified after beating Evil Genius's Prodigies. You're the fourth seed of the teams that qualified outside of UGP. Which means I believe you're 10 overall, with the academy teams above. And I think that means if the format doesn't change, that you're playing against Wildcard Red first.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is. Yeah. Sorry for cutting you off.
a little bit of a tough draw. No, you're completely fine. What are your thoughts about them? How have your games against them gone so far?
I mean, how do you say? Obviously, I'm not gonna go on here and say we're favored, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I know we could win. They're obviously the best team. They 3-0'd the tournament. I like to think the third tournament is an asterisk, but that's just my opinion. Um, I'd say, I mean, they're the favorites. I think they're the favorites to beat a lot of the academy teams on top of that. But I know they probably had an off day when we played them in semis. Given the benefit of the doubt on that. But I do think if we play a little better than we did the semis, and they play the same they played on semis, it's like it should be good. I think I have confidence that we could. People don't like. I thought even coming into the season in beginning of summer, I kind of always saw our team as a dark horse. No one expected anything from us, and then and I think that's gonna stay the same going into Proving Grounds, playing against teams like Wildcard Red.
I mean, you've already exceeded expectations from spring, I'd say, with the qualification for Proving Grounds and a player being promoted too. I think that's really the main goal of what these like third teams are. Touching on Busio a bit more too. So he's obviously on the academy team now, sitting in there. I don't think that he will play because they're going to do what they did with Tenacity last year, where they snag him up before the roster lock, and then they've got him on contract if they want to have him on their team later. Um, how is it like playing with Busio as a teammate? He role swapped from mid lane to support, and I think from what we know, he was a big shot caller on the team. Is that true?
Uh, I'll start from the beginning of the question. Busio's great. I mean, being on a team with him is great because a lot of people kind of get stuck on their on losses,
Hmm.
on like why they lost and stuff. Busio is always very positive and just improving and moving forward, right? Buzio's like the definition of loses improve. Like he'll
Hmm.
like into scrim set and then into same scrim set for like 5 days straight, but then like that same mistake he did, he like won't do it again, right? So he's like the definition of loses improve. So playing with someone that like mm, doesn't matter how many mistakes they make, you just know they're not going to make the same one is really refreshing, and you don't see that very often in amateur.
High praise.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. I'd say that like yeah, that sounds like the perfect kind of guy to have on your team, and as support too. Is because supports they're allowed to make a lot of mistakes, I think. But if he's not even like making the same ones again, then
He'll
assumed he's
find
going
new
to
ones
be just the
to make.
perfect player.
I'll give it that. He'll find new mistakes to make, but he won't mess up old ones. I'll get So he
That's
he
pretty funny.
he improves on what his problems are and keeps trying to truck forward.
Yeah.
I
So,
always tend to find myself making new mistakes on support too, so I understand.
hey man,
Yeah.
it's the role with the most freedom, right? It's the
Yeah,
easiest role to get caught
exactly.
out. Yeah. So I guess like almost transitioning from like kind of like where you were at, or kind of like a couple of the teammates that you have now, and like in the Proving Grounds atmosphere. I'm kind of curious like about the spring because you said that like obviously you were doing something different in the spring. You weren't a part of Proving Grounds. So what were you up to like before you started out like competing with Hunter Next?
So I'd say my opinion on how to make it is very
Mm-hmm.
different than the majority of players on the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been challenger for around 2 years now, but I'd say last year, um, middle of last year, by the end of last year was the time I felt like most confident per se. Like I kind of it's gonna be like I don't know how to word this. I Most players just the second they get challenger, they start looking for teams. I know a lot of players they get just high GM, they start looking for teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always knew. I obviously, as I said before, I was a big fan of the old 100 Thieves Next roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that old roster was a top three team, and all five players were all 1K, right? So it wasn't a coincidence that all five players on the team were all top 25 on the ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that there's no point to join lower ended teams because I'm just going to be a lower ended player. That's how I always saw it. So I always said for 2 years I just grinded solo queue and I told myself I'm not going to try for teams or approach teams until I am very, very confident in my ability and I'm considered a high challenger player, right? So for 2 years I never tried out for any teams. I never talked to any teams. I just thought, okay, I'm not going to try to get on a high amateur team until I'm considered a high amateur player, right? Just on the
Got it.
like ladder wise, right? So this year I got challenger really early on in the season, and then I was okay. It's been 2 years. I'm really confident in my ability. I'm gonna start reaching out, and then I reached out to Fallen Bennett. So that's why I think I've not really seen as much in the amateurs because I kind of avoided joining until I know I could join a good team, which I think I've done successfully.
So this is actually something that you're not alone in thinking like this thought process. Like I know that a couple players that have also shown up for this split of proving grounds also had the same mentality in terms of like making sure that they are like super high ranked, have the best chance of getting on like the best roster imaginable. And I'm kind of like interested like following up on that. Like, what do you think is the difference between like when you were playing at, let's say, like, I don't know, whatever mid GM was, like 700, 800 LP versus like, upper 1,000 like LP now, like for challengers? Like, you feel like there's like a big difference in terms of play to like make it to that level? And if so,
I
like,
think it's
what are those differences?
I think it's honestly 90% of its mentality.
Yeah.
To be honest, I
Hmm.
think I know a lot of friends who are GM or low challenger, and I know they have the mechanics or I know they have the macro to make it, or at least get really high on the ladder, right? But they just have it's not even that they have bad mental. They type a lot. So I think they approach solo queue incorrectly, right? They play at the
Hmm.
wrong times. They don't queue up when they're feeling their best. Things like that. I think that's honestly the biggest gap from like a high GM player to like a high challenger player is that the high, and then it's also a feeling of insecurity. I remember like for last year I was like a low challenger player, right? And I felt like every time I would like duo with a friend like AP or someone who's 1K OP or someone
Hmm.
else who's just really high in the ladder, every time I do it with them, I was like, okay, I have to play good, so they think I'm good. Like I always constantly thought, and then we play 10 games. I'd ask them like, yo, do you think I'm as good as your other challenger jungle friend, right? And
Hmm.
I think a lot of players that are high GM always kind of comparing themselves to the next level, on the like challenger. And I think when you kind of get more confidence and you're in that proper mentality of how to play, I think that's when you start ballooning.
Do you think that solo queue confidence and mentality has translated well for you on 100 Thieves Next to the success that you're getting now?
Yeah, I think I think that's exactly what that was. I think I just if I didn't have the same confidence I have now that I had last year, I don't think we would make I don't think we would have qualified for PG.
What aspect of that do you think is most applicable to the games that you're playing now in Proving Grounds?
Can you rephrase like just a little slow?
Sure. So the confidence and the mentality of playing
Oh,
solo queue to get to the highest level, which part of that, like you
I,
said, like playing at the right times, making sure
oh,
you're feeling good and confident. What translates into you feeling that way for Proving
yeah,
Grounds too?
I'd say it's not that the solo queue confidence transitioned into amateur. It's that solo queue confidence transitioned into me knowing I at least deserve a tryout or a chance to join a
Mm,
team. And then after multiple dozens and dozens of scrims and tournament matches in amateur in the circuit, that gave me the confidence to be confident in PG. You know.
I gotcha. So you said you started getting into Challenger about 2 years ago. Did you know that you wanted to like try to get to the highest level of League of Legends before that? And if you did, how long ago did you start doing that?
So with me, my story, I think most players when they start playing League, they kind of get high elo fast.
Hmm.
But for me, I had that grind. I had that the proper season 3 bronze, season 4 silver, season 5 silver, never ended gold. Season 6 I was platinum, right? 7 I was platinum, and then season 8 was my first season hitting diamond.
Oh,
Season
wow.
8 I peaked diamond. I was diamond 1 for like 6 months, and then in the last week of the season I went from diamond 1 to diamond 3, right?
Hmm.
And then season 9 is where I finally hit challenger, but I was not like a challenger. I hit challenger, but I was not even close to consider myself a challenger player at the time. I was just like low season challenger. I was like a Masters GM player. And then season 10 I consider myself a high GM player into low challenger, and now I consider myself a high challenger player. So it's been a full grind since the bottom. So,
That's
but I
actually
so
pretty wild. Like, that's a totally different path than like what most players we see in the
yeah,
space are right now.
most players are not like. I think I see for me because I kind of wasted my first 4 years. If that makes sense. I don't
Hmm.
like using the word waste because I learned a lot. Right.
Hmm.
From season 3 to season 7, I played 4 roles. I never mained the champion. I never mained the role. I played every role but support. And then so the story about it is in season 7 I was platinum. Right. I was like stuck platinum 2 in season 7, and I played 4 roles: top, mid, jungle, AD. And I remember I was what 14 or something, plat 2, and I was like, wow, I really want to try to go pro, right? It was actually the Sky and Ground things came out either that season or the season before, and I was like, oh, I want to go Skyrim Grounds. I remember making a notepad. I remember doing the math. I was Plat 2, right? I remember
Yeah.
making a notepad saying, wow, I have to get 90 OP every day for the next 3 weeks for me to get Challenger, and then if I'm Challenger, I could go to SG, right? And I was Plat 2. I never even hit Diamond while I was making this list of how much OP I have to make, by the way, right? And then obviously that didn't happen, but I realized that I'm not gonna, climb or make it if I don't main one role. Because everyone that's pro only plays one role, right? So that's how I got the name Chad Jungle. Is I tell myself the only way I can make myself play one role is if I put that role in my name. Because how stupid would I look if I had the name Chad Jungle when I was playing mid, right? So that's why my name's Chad Jungle, was because I wanted to put the role I was gonna play in my name. So I forced myself to play it, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna put? And then at the time is all those Chad Jungle memes. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just put Chad Jungle. And then and that's what I consider my first. That's why it's like, even though I've been playing for 5 years, 8 years or something, I feel like I've only actually been playing the game for 3 years, because 3 years of only playing one role. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. I mean, I personally resonate with that. I don't know if you've taken a look at my OPGG. You probably haven't, but
We have not.
my ascension is very similar, actually. I also started playing in middle school. I'm a few years older than you, but I started playing in 2012 when I was in middle school, and I had the same curve up. I never hit Challenger. I only hit Master, but that's really interesting because, yeah, like Covey said, that's not something that we hear from a lot of players that are like at the top. I know for someone else in your org, Poom, he just like what other game was he playing, Cubby?
He was Global Elite CS:GO
Yeah, and then he just picked up
in
League
season
and,
7. Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty wild.
that's really interesting. So, how old would that make you when you started playing? 11?
Okay, well, I'm 19 right now. Now season 11. I started playing season 3. So yeah, 11, 12, and
Wow,
yeah.
not
I
bad.
mean, I can't blame you for being bronze at 11.
I
Like
think it's
that.
okay. I got cheated off it. So the season ends in November, right? So
Yeah.
I started my first game of ranked was like 2 weeks before season ended. So like I got placed in like bronze 3, and then it was my first time playing ranked, and I only had 2 weeks left of the season, and I ended bronze 1. So I was like, I ended bronze, and I always have to hold it to my grave that the first season I played was bronze, but I only played for it was only 2 weeks of the season, and I was 11, so I
Yeah.
didn't actually play the game. I played like
Yeah.
20 games that season. So
When I was that age and I was playing, my parents would get so mad at me because they'd want me to come like do like family dinner and stuff. I'm like, I can't pause the game. I have to keep playing. I'm gonna get
That was a tough one
reported.
to explain.
Yeah, they appreciate it now. But that's mostly because I'm not living with them. But yeah, that's really funny. I haven't talked to any people on the show, or Cubby and I haven't talked to any people on the show who've
Like, have that
who've
route,
got that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
very
So
interesting.
Another big thing about that route is about what I said, that most people come into high elo fast. Is I think most people also, when they start playing video games like that, they do a pretty good setup. I think that's something that's not talked about at all in the League community, which is actually really important. Is I think most people that are like silver, gold, platinum usually have really, really, really bad setups, like 10 FPS
true.
computers, laptops, etc.
This is true.
And I think, most players could get way higher if they had like, 200 FPS computer with 144 Hz monitor and all these things.
Yeah.
Because every time, 'cause I was stuck in silver for 2 years, and then I had a 20 FPS computer, right? And then I
Uh-huh.
went from silver 1 to plat 4 in a week when I upgraded my computer, and that was my first time even hitting gold, and I was in gold for less than a week, right? And then funny enough, when I went from plat to diamond, that was also after I was in plat for 2 years, and I went from plat to diamond again after upgrading my computer. So I think a lot of people don't really realize how important setups is as well.
Yeah.
I used to play on a MacBook Air, and when I swapped over to the computer I built, I went from like Diamond 5 to Diamond 2.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, it was like instantaneous.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's actually it's an interesting outlook on it.
So okay, so you had this very steady climb, and you're this year feeling very confident You get picked up by 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Amazing. And now you're qualified to play against the academy teams, and like your first match is against like literal like Korean superstar Arrow. Uh, are you getting like a little bit of like a I don't know whiplash, like the speed that this is going, or was this always the plan?
I'd say it was always the plan. I kind of like I didn't like randomly get into high elo, as I said. Like I was platinum, I
Mhm.
knew I wanted to get into high elo, so I
Yeah.
kind of like always knew I'm gonna. If it wasn't like I just just hit challenges the first time this year and I'm in proving grounds. It's like I knew I have to take this path. I knew it's gonna. I just had a really I have a witness with gaming and just my life. I have like a really weird like just confidence in myself. Like I'm gonna do this and it's gonna happen, right? And it's I don't know where the hell this confidence comes from. It's just there. So I kind of had that with this. I was like, okay, I'm a master dog now. I'm gonna just play solo queue for 2 years, and I'm gonna get to a team. And I just knew that was gonna happen, and now it's happening. So I don't really feel any whiplash because I feel very prepared. I knew what I wanted to do when I had to do it, and I'm doing it. So I feel very aware of where I am and how I got here.
Hell yeah. So, how does being a part of 100 Thieves Next help that help your goal for yourself? Because you said that you wanted to be on this team in particular. What is it about 100 Thieves Next that drew you to that and made that your primary goal for yourself?
Uh, I just said I was friends with Ken V before he joined 100 Next, and I remember as you are with players better than you, I was always and we're both jungle mains. I always compared myself to him, and I was like, oh, he does that better than me. He does that better than me. I might do that better than him, right? So I was always constantly comparing us. And then he got 100 Next, and instantly, I mean, at the time, 100 Next arguably was and is the best amateur team of all time. At that time.
They were.
So yeah, so it was like seeing a friend of mine just got on a team and started smurfing everywhere, and then obviously, and then he played so well that he got moved up, and then another friend of mine, NXI, then came replaced him, and then instantly got moved up again. I was like, okay, this team, not only is 100 Thieves now one of the or the best org, it's just it just has a big line of success. I have friends who were on the team and are still on the team, and it just was like a no-brainer. If I joined any team, it would have to be that one. So I knew that was what I had to get into.
So
So,
you've talked a lot about like kind of the process of improving, like getting here, and like kind of like the steps that you've taken throughout the years. Like, what do you think like has enabled you to like take these steps, or like what kind of goes into your process of like improving and figuring out like, all right, like here's the steps that I need to take to improve my game to like hit my next goal. Like where do you feel like your strengths have like kind of been in that?
Um, that's so that's the way I can answer that is I always said to everyone I know, and I always told myself, if right now, if I was 27 years old right now, I would pursue full-time coach. I would pursue to become a head coach for a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I was like 17, 18, I always loved looking at the game from macro point of view, and I
Mm-hmm.
always knew like if I was had horrible mechanics, or if I was 25, 24, 23 right now, and I was too old to go pro, I would just still pursue league, but I'd pursue being a coach, right? So I always just really, really enjoyed looking at the game
Hmm.
from a macro point of view and just from like a third person point of view. So it makes it so I was able to watch most of my VODs, and usually when players VOD reviewing themselves, they're biased towards their own game, like, oh, I did that, but oh, maybe I should have done that when they shouldn't have, right?
Right.
But for me, it's like I always looked at the game from a coach's point of view, so I was able to look at my own play from an unbiased point of view and kind of really reflect what I'm doing wrong, which made me improve better than maybe some other players at a different pace.
it's really interesting. So how do you incorporate your coach mentality on your team now? Are you a big voice in like VOD review and like team prep and stuff?
Um, I think, I mean, Paul and Ban does a great job at everything, right? So I think and I'd say I remember at the beginning when I first joined the team, I was really, really committed to what's that word you said,
Like a process.
preparation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was kind of like, I remember we were going to Cup, the first tournament, right? And teams would play like, I went and made a spreadsheet of every single team's draft and all their picks and all their bans on both sides. And I was like, okay, we're playing against this and this team. This team has picked Nautilus 3 times. This team has banned, this. And I did all the prep. And at the very beginning, I was very um focused on being as prepared as possible. I almost felt like a second coach when it came to stuff like that. And then um when we were losing in like the dumbest fashions, and I kind of like realized like it's kind of hard for it's like I the way I saw it was it's like an 80 carry trying to shot call every time of the game. Like yes, it's doable, but it's very they have better things to focus on. So I'll still be a really loud voice in the game, but when it comes to like outside of the game, kind of that's Paul Bennett's job and he's really good at it, and I just kind of I make too many um personal mistakes to feel confident talking about other people's mistakes in VOD review. Like obviously if they did something incorrectly, like they didn't come to my Raptors in time or there's a wave state going on, I'll be like, yo, this is really bad for jungle. But I don't think it's my place to talk about other people's play if I'm not consistently being the best.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. This is your first team, and I mean you've been a part of it for what is it? It's been like 3 months now, 4 months now, because we're in August.
It's been
That's,
2 months and 22 days.
but who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting?
Love it. Love it. So
That's good.
so obviously like this is the summer, and you share that like you're 19. Like, are you still planning on attending college or taking classes, or like are you in the process of doing that, or for you like are you just like are all your chips here at the moment?
All my chips are at the moment for the simple fact that I have confidence that I'll make a pro, but let's say like worst case scenario it doesn't happen. As I said, I still would like to pursue like coaching. Like if I'm 23 and I still got for some reason on a team, yeah, I will try my best to pursue like just full-time coaching for like teams. And then if for some reason that doesn't work, I used to stream, and I streamed sporadically. I streamed like random times. I streamed like 4 days in a row, then I wouldn't stream for a month, right? And I was like super sporadic.
Yeah.
And even with that being how inconsistent I was, there was a time where I was able to average 90, 100 viewers, which isn't not that much, which isn't much considered.
Dude, that's a ton.
For
like,
people that do, yeah. So I was like, I always know that if this doesn't work and for some reason coaching doesn't work, I probably fall back to try to do streaming or YouTube. But that's like such I stopped streaming because I don't want I saw it as a hobby. And I remember waking up. I remember the day after I averaged 90 viewers, I woke up and I was like, okay, there's people that want me to stream, and just because they want me to stream, I don't want to stream because then it feels like a job, and I don't want it to be a job.
Got it. That's wild. I always like to describe it like streaming. I mean, like if you have 90 to 100 viewers, like that is literally. Imagine like if it's like 20 years ago and you had like 90 to 100 people like watching you like play games in your living room or like at an arcade. Like it's pretty wild. Like the fact that like you got 90 to 100 people like watching you at any given time. So, but I think it's like that's a lot of people. So yeah, it's kind of interesting like hearing your route to get here because, like in a sense like. I was like personally, like I was like kind of like in the same boat where like I was always kind of like around, but I never like really went all in until COVID hit, and that was like the only thing that moved for me. So it's kind of funny like hearing you be like like sitting in plat like this is my goal, like I'm gonna go pro and like here's the process like I want to build, and then kind of listening to like how you describe chasing it. That's it's cool, and like it's got to be like kind of surreal for you to like you're somewhat here. Like have you like had any of like those like surreal moments yet?
Yeah, I had it, so I had well when I joined 100 Thieves and the days before I joined because my situation, I don't know how much I can talk about it. My situation was Fallen Ben was talking to me, and obviously this team I've been wanting to join for like a year and a half, 2 years, and Fallen Ben was talking to me and he was watching my VODs, and basically the answer I got was I'm the jungler if this doesn't happen, right? And I was just kind of sitting for 3 days, like, all right, is this gonna happen? Or is this not gonna happen? And then it's funny because I got the message saying, yeah, I got into a call with Postman. They're like, yeah, we want you. And I still thought it was not like I didn't believe them, but I didn't believe them. I kind of like, they said, okay, yeah, you're a jungler. We're gonna run scrims tomorrow.
Yep.
And in my head, I didn't see the scrims as, oh, my first scrim as a team. I saw the scrim as, it's my tryout. Even though they told me I was on the team, I was like, okay, if I play really badly, I'm on the team. So I had and then once they officially said once the contract was signed, it was official.
Mhm.
It was like 2 days where I would like just giggle around my house like I'm on 100 Thieves, right? And then
Yeah.
that was very surreal. And I'm kind of I'm like integrated into what I'm doing and
You're over it.
what I have to. Yeah, not over it, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I mean, you're cool now. It's all good.
Yeah.
You're in the club.
That's-
You made it past the red velvet rope.
Yeah.
Now you just gotta not do anything stupid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing dumb like removing your org's Twitter checkmark. Might be something bad to do.
4 engagement, 2 hit, 1 million followers, still dub.
So
Yeah. They'll get it back.
it's funny because
Oh,
100 Thieves Esports Twitter is less than 100K followers, and that has a check mark.
Yeah,
It's easy.
that's the one that I ping whenever I like tweet at them or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm casting a 100 Thieves game. I ping that one instead.
It's how you dodge out on the apparel and the content sides of the company.
And that's the
Yeah.
only. I mean, I'm a 100 Thieves Esports fan.
Yep.
I remember when the old roster got announced, the 100 Thieves Esports retweeted it, and when my roster got announced, they didn't, but 100 Thieves Esports did. So I'm biased with 100 Thieves Esports. They're the better Twitter account.
So
Yeah.
Chad Jungle has a personal vendetta against JHB. Got it. All right.
Yep.
Moving on.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So you're on a team with a former like very big esports name across multiple titles in Gamsu, and I don't think that like anyone has really talked to him since he joined your team, like outside of the team, of course. What is it like having Gamsu as your top laner after like years playing Overwatch and like before that playing at LCK?
He's great. He's you probably he's a shy guy, so he makes sure he stays in his thing. But I think Gamsu is great. I think when you think of someone who's been in multiple big teams and multiple games and big names, Fnatic and all these things, you think they'd go, and then there's something like amateur. You think they'd have huge ego and they down talk everyone and they talk harshly and stuff. But I've never met someone or played with someone that's so kind-hearted, kind-spoken, right? He's always like never heard him really cuss, never heard him say anything harsh. He's very just he's just there to play. Like he knows what he's there to do, right? And I would prefer to play with someone. I'd prefer to play with someone. Let's say I do everything by graphs. I prefer to play with someone that's 80% good and really nice, and someone that's 90% good and not nice. And he's the definition of someone who's like, I think most of my teams that fits that criteria. But
Yeah.
he's like someone that I would always prefer playing with him over another player considered better, just because he's such a positive mindset on everything.
And have you gotten to like pick his brain at all? Like, being a literal world champion in like Overwatch and like what it took to like do that? Because I mean, not only like is he like a pretty storied league player, but I mean he swapped games and won a world championship, and now he's back. Like, what's it like kind of having like that winner's mentality like in the building for you, right?
I'd say I actually never picked his brain about it. I remember there was one time, there's one scrim set I can remember. We were after the scrim set we were reminiscing about, I think me, Busio, and Instinct. I think all four of us were talking about how I think we used to see him play on Fnatic.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, right? And we talked about how those games were. We talked about. Remember we were like reminisced about a game we all remember watching, and he remembered playing. So that was funny. But none of us have ever picked his brain Overwatch. I think we all kind of know that he's like playing League now, and we didn't really see a point to mention another game. It's like, I don't know, it's just weird. I think I remember once we were watching, I was watching a montage of Overwatch plays. And I remember seeing him in it, and I thought that was funny. But we never really asked him many Overwatch questions before, because he just kind of like he's there to play and he's there to work. And I don't know, I just never saw a point to ask him about Overwatch.
That game sucks anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a dead game.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
All
why
right,
they gotta make a second one.
we earned our riot paycheck today.
Yeah.
Oh, good, good. I didn't know we were getting those.
We aren't,
Uh,
but theoretically.
so in this split, we've well for this year in its entirety, we've seen that the amateur teams have gotten to play against academy teams, and up until really recently, we thought that that was the replacement to scouting grounds. But now we know scouting grounds is actually still happening. So for you as one of the players who could potentially hit both benchmarks, right? As the jungler for a competitive amateur team, and then also trying to get like top of the ladder as well, is scouting grounds one of the big goals for you? Because I know you mentioned it that you'd watched it in the past before just as a spectator and like wanting to do it there. Is that one of your goals for this year, is getting into the scouting grounds?
Yeah, I say it is. I feel like I feel like I got trolled a little bit. Every single year for the last 4 years, Skygrounds always gets announced late May, early June, like historically
Yeah.
always, right? And I think late May, early June, I was 800 something LP, and then I just kind of I have a thing where I remember I said I think most Soki is mental. You should only play when you're feeling good. There's like a
Yeah.
3 week period where I just like was not feeling confident for solo queue. I like after scrims I did not want to play solo queue. The quality was bad. I just didn't want to play. And I knew that if I didn't want to play and I forced myself to play, I would just play badly and lose LP. So
Yeah.
my account decayed from 800 LP, and it decayed for like a month. And then I remember like 2 weeks after it was decaying Diamond One, Skyrim Grounds was announced. LP actually matters now. And I was like, oh, like Kate 800, and then so now I think in the last 3 weeks I went from Diamond One to 600 LP right now. And now so I'll be challenger by the end of the week, but it's like I got trolled, so yeah, I'd still love to go. I'm gonna be a little bit of a disadvantage compared to other people that are already 1K LP, but obviously if we do good enough in PG, that's we insta go in, or if I just catch up in the ladder right now, I'll be able to go there too. So
Chad Jungle, as the classic saying goes here in NA Amateur, just win, and you can
Yeah.
escape the gulag.
I like that one.
Facts.
Just
Yeah.
win.
Just win.
Kill the enemy team's nexus, and then you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about bad formats or late announcements or anything.
Or
Just
power
win.
outages,
Yep.
which are very real, and maybe the most terrifying thing that we have.
Oh God.
The only thing
yeah.
scarier than Wildcard Red and NA Amateur is a power outage.
It's a power outage.
That's the split. At the moment.
That's the only thing that could beat them, maybe. I'm just kidding. So okay, that's good, because I know that like for we got the chance to talk to Ido, the coach of Evil Genius's Prodigies, and he was saying that the players are really excited for that on EG, but like at the same time they're on that team because they're like being scouted for the higher EG squads.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you're able to be in that position on 100 Thieves next as well? I know like last year and right now, Busio and a lot of the 100 Next guys of last year did get promoted, and all of the last year guys are in academy right now. So are you feeling confident about being able to take that next step in 2022?
Yeah, I'm positive I could easily be academy in 2022. I think there's junglers I could replace in the next split. I'd say um how do I even word this to not make 100 Thieves sound bad? I don't. I have such a strong confidence in Ken V. I know he's, in my opinion, he's the best or top two best junglers in the academy, right? So it's like, as the a player that's the team below him, it's always my hope that he's gonna get promoted or bought out by a different team or something like that. But it's like, it's I have confidence that I'll be academy by next year. But I don't know for which team.
I think that the way that I'll phrase it for you is that 100 Thieves have some difficult decisions to make next year, having Ken V be their academy jungler, and with him potentially being one that may look to move up to an LCS org, whether that is an in-house promotion or somewhere else. I think 100 Thieves have a lot of good problems looking from the top down, is the way that we'd phrase it. So yeah, there it is.
That's the good way to say it.
Yeah, that's the PR way to say it. And I think good problems are. I mean, I think that 100 Thieves and EG have really separated themselves this year in developing talent, and we're kind of seeing that as the year moves on. We're seeing internal promotions from each team, which is fantastic. But also, once we get to November, there's going to be some difficult decisions to be made and some good problems to be had. I mean, as always, free agency is pretty wild. And hopefully we get to see a lot of the talented faces in NA amateur try and succeed as well. But, yeah, you never know what's going to happen every offseason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about was the Mobalytics prospect list that Cubby
Here we go.
Because I know that
this is where we let the guest flame the hosts of the podcast.
Yeah.
I know that you and a few other players in the space do watch our show specifically for that. And you know what? That's really cool. Thank you so much for like appreciating that, or maybe just wanting to flame us. Whichever way, we appreciate it nonetheless. But I wanted to ask you about this because as one of the people who could potentially be on the list, what do we take any headspace rent free?
But, I mean, obviously not anymore. But at the day of the thing, I was thinking about it a lot. Put it that way. I don't know. I think list has it's more about the reasoning on the list. I'd say it's kind of, you think about it. We're the fourth team to qualify, so that means on paper, statistically, people's opinion might not match it, but on the spreadsheet, that means we are considered the fourth best amateur team at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a list of 10 players on top 10, the fourth team should have at least one player. That's how I saw it. It only makes sense. Like there's players that are on the list that are not that top four because
This is true.
So it doesn't. So something's not adding up. Obviously, I understand. The only thing that I could give you guys the only thing that makes me understand your point of view is the fact that this is a top prospect list of the entire year, right? Or the entire spring and summer, right? If the list was just summer, or the list was just of the last tournament, then I would be breaking down houses, wondering what's wrong with this list. But because
rightfully so.
It has spring involved, and it has cup involved and risen involved, and we've only played well in the third tournament, EGL. It makes the list more understandable. But I'd say I think there's a lack. I think there's something that's not mentioned much because the only people that talk about players and the list are casters and analysts, and I think there is a coherent bias towards some people. Some casters go out to dinners with some of the players, and then I wonder what that means. And then there's other times where it just I remember, for example, Cubby, you are biased towards Busio because I'm biased towards him as well. It's more like there is that there. With the announcement video you did for them in spring and stuff like that, right? So there's always gonna be bias, and it's hard to hide it. But
we all have different criteria. I think that it's tough. And it's one where I've played the game not at as high of a level as you, but I've hit GM, I've coached a collegiate team, and I know that you guys have a better grasp on what you think the list should and would be than what we do. We're just trying our best. And the criteria of it's weird. I know that I finished off a lot of the episodes 100 Next, please give me a reason to put Busio on the list. And then they gave me a reason to not have him a part of the list because he doesn't qualify anymore, which is good for him. But no, I think any criticism for that's fair. I think the four of us, we try. And all the criteria is different. I think what we end up with, I never 100% say all right, this is perfect. But I'm always you know what? This is relatively close. There's a few things that I don't agree with, but it's never I've only went to war over one or two. So, yeah.
I'd say my two biggest things about the list that I was not most upset about, the most conflicted about was that the fact that one, to me it was apparent that not even though we got third and to me my head my team should have been looked at more into this third tournament from our history, right? I was not part of the team in spring.
Yeah.
But to say bluntly, in spring the team didn't get out of groups once, right? And then into summer we didn't get out of groups in the first or second tournament, right? So that means the team was unsuccessful for 5+ months, and then they randomly get third in the third tournament, and I feel like no one kind of even connected the dots, right? And I don't think people. And then I'd say, okay, this team went from being unsuccessful for 5 months to getting third. And I don't think there are many casters or analysts that even looked at the VOD of our games for the third tournament, because if they did, it'd become apparent on the performance of some players and how these players should have been considered more highly on the list, right? So I think people neglected to watch VODs or connect dots of the team's history and how much this tournament really meant for what the team's progression, is.
Yeah.
I also think that I know that a lot of people in the community got scared off stats. I remember Wicked or whatever his name was got on the podcast a while ago and said how stats are fake and stats don't really matter. But I think there's a truth to that, and there's also not a truth to that. I think if you look at the stats of the Wildcard Red, right? They're
Mhm.
all going to have the best KDAs out of any player, even if they have bad games. They're all going to have just the best stats in general because
Yeah.
they're the best team. So those stats will lie. But if you look at a team like my team, who, as I said, was unsuccessful for 5 months, and one of those players somehow has really good stats, that should show something about the players.
Yeah.
And no one's even looking at them. No one cares.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I've had like the same stat discussion too. I think that stats are like the way that I view stats is like I need to see things in the game that I can like visually see, and then I can use stats to support those arguments, because I think that if you just start with stats, it's like a lot of like things you miss. Like best example would be like Impact has a really big gold diff at 10. Well, he plays a lot of Renekton and they're attacking his lane quite a bit. Whereas like Danny has the worst gold diff at 10 in the league. Well, he has the most amount of Senna games. So like you kind of like need like the like some like context, right? Like I think like stats like lack a lot of context, and I think that stats also like the game changes every three weeks, so like they're never going to be like super useful. But you can't objectively see things and like use stats to like further support that. So I kind of like agree with you on like stats being weird. But yeah, I mean we like all have like different criteria. I'm definitely the person like whose list has changed the least. Just because I still kind of grandfather in a couple players in the spring.
I respected your Fnatic grandfather. I think
he's a good player.
I think 90% of players, more players, analysts, casters consider Winston the best jungler in the scene. I'd say Winston's a really good friend of mine, and I love to put him at the #1 spot. But just for banter's sake, it's really hard to be the #1 jungler if you have #1 top and #1 mid and #1 bot lane. So
Yep.
I'd say, in my opinion, Fnatic's still the best. Unless he progressively got a lot worse, I think his performance
I think that like a lot of their issues are not individually. It's just like the team is just like on two totally different pages in their bad games. So yeah, I mean it depends. Like I try and like watch as much tape as I can, but I'm Academy and LCS like also have me booked, and so semi-pro like I haven't been as good with the tape this year as I was like last split, where I literally didn't miss a game. It didn't matter like if it was streamed or not. That was where it was at. So many games.
They also gave us
six
more
tournaments.
raffle files last split. Honestly.
Yes. No,
I have asked
I had access
every
to,
single tournament order. Oh yeah, you
I had access to
were
every
you were
single
part
one.
of the
Yeah.
part of the tournament though.
Yeah.
I asked EGL for raffle files. They did not give that to me, so I only got the stream stuff.
Another thing to complain about EGL on the list.
Oh boy, we don't have to
Yeah.
get into that right now.
I played the fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Cubby. All I'll say is, I haven't gone out to dinner with any players, and I don't think you have.
I have not
I
either.
don't think Tim has either.
Oh wait, which
So-
one is left over there? That's interesting. Shout out to my boy Rafa. Much love. I just have to speak my mind. You could take offense to it, but it's just my.
Oh no, I respect it.
I
I'm
think
here
he'd
for it.
laugh along too. he wears it on his sleeve, you know. He's very
Yeah.
open about his love for Chan. It's funny.
Yeah.
So we'll take your thoughts into consideration, I think, for the next list.
Oh, glad.
But
I mean, I think the next list is gonna be made after the qualifiers, right? So that won't really, or it's gonna be after
for
PG.
UGP, yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, that won't
that'll be
really.
kind of fun. I'm looking forward to just seeing like what UGP ends up looking like. And guess
Yeah.
what, Chad Jungle? We have you here who gets to maybe be an armchair coach or caster if you'd like to be about what your expectations and you having a little bit more experience in actually playing these teams face to face. About let's just start with an easy question. What do you think the expectations are for some of the top semi-pro teams that are still trying to qualify for Proving Grounds? Which teams do you think have a good chance of making it through?
The thing, it's 6 teams making it out, right? And then
Yeah.
it's the bottom 4 academy, and that are in it. I think of all the teams, I have to look at the list really fast of all the teams in it.
I just sent you the bracket, and I'll put the bracket in the Twitch chat if
Perfect.
anyone's listening at the moment.
This would be a way easier to look at now. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying which amateur teams do I think have the best chance of
Yeah.
making it?
Yeah.
Or I'd say, to confirm, EGP has Shoryu now, right? Or is that not confirmed yet?
Yep.
People know?
EGP should have Shoryu. Yeah.
He's
Okay.
on the roster list, and they don't have another AD on the roster list.
Yep.
So
It's really, I think the list is honestly really hard because of how inconsistent the teams are. I think if I had to say every team playing at their very best, the best amateur teams would be Zoo, Resolve, Zoo, Resolve,
EGP.
and then it kind of gets close. Yeah, then EGP, Zoo, Resolve, EGP, and then the fourth would be somewhere. It would either be a TSM or it would be I think it'd probably just be TSM then, unless I'm forgetting someone. But yeah, I think the top 3 would be Resolve, Zoo. In order, it would be Zoo, Resolve, and then the third team would be EGP. I think Resolve's, if they're playing at their best, like no mistakes, no one's being an idiot. I think at the best they're still, out of all the teams left, they're the top 2, and then but I do think EGP's there. I think a lot of teams kind of don't have EGP that high anymore, because of Tomio moving out. But I
Yep.
think
Right.
Bluster's really good mechanically, and if the team can kind of like figure out how to play around his mechanics, that team is top 4, top 3, getting out.
yeah, it's nice to hear you say that because I mean that's the team that you've played against most recently on stage anyway. Not counting like scrims or anything, but yeah, I definitely I have a similar read on EGP as you. I think that like that team in general is very good at implementing like new players because at the start of the year like most of that team had never played more than a split of competitive. So I think that Bluster is in a good spot. And yeah, I think his mechanics are quite good. One team you didn't mention though is Maryville, and I think
Maryville.
the Maryville's peak is pretty good too.
Stuck it in there
wonder-
last second. Maryville.
No,
Yeah,
I know. I thought about them. I don't know. It's a kind of not a flip, but it's hard. It's really hard to see. Um, we've only played against them a couple times. I don't think we've ever scrimmed against them either, to be honest, in the last 3 months. Well, we played against them in EGL in groups. Obviously, they didn't have we beat them, but I think everyone can agree they were not playing at their best, not nearly. But I don't know. I know Spyrax is getting a lot of hype on that team. I think Spyrax has been playing really well, and Auto Orange is a veteran. Like he won't crack under pressure, and he'll if it's like their tournament life on the line, Auto Orange will always step up.
Yeah.
But I think Resolve is just better. I think Zoo, if they're focused, they're just better. And I think EGP is I guess EGP and MU, if they're MU's playing at their best and EGP hasn't adjusted fully to Bluster, it could get really close, or maybe even MU has the lead, but it's just like it's hard to tell. It kind of in my head, it's not about how good MU could play; it's about how if the other teams underperform. That's how I see it.
Okay, so then flipping the script on that one, there are 4 academy teams that are playing in UGP. if there was one academy team that you
Okay.
you think may not make it through or has a tough bracket or you don't have
Uh,
as much faith in, you don't have to name just one, but like, are there any that you think may not be a part of the 6 teams that qualify for the Proving Grounds?
See, I don't really want to talk down on CLG since Fallen Bandit is an OG 3-year CLG representative.
And his buddy
But
Osama's still on the team.
yeah,
Good friend.
and Osama
Friend of the
was on
program.
100 next as well. Osama
Yeah.
was on 100 next
True.
as well. But I'd say if I had to compare all 4 of the academy teams, CLG would have the least chance of making it out.
I'd
That's pretty
say,
fair.
given their 10th place placement, that's probably the fairest.
Yeah.
I'm not as high on Dig as some of the other team or like some other people are, and
I think it's okay.
I think that Dig actually have a pretty tough draw because they have to get through.
HUP.
Yeah, they have to get through like that side of the bracket. It's Resolve and TSM Amateur, a Golden Guardians Academy on that side, who I think are like should be a favorite to get out. Like I don't think there's any way that Golden Guardians don't get out of this. EGP's on that side. Like I think that Dig might actually like have a pretty tough road. Like having EGP as a second round matchup is not easy.
Yeah. I mean, there's always losers bracket.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. Dig is like I think the same way they snuck a lot of their wins in academy, they'll sneak it here. I think teams underestimate them.
Mhm.
And that's how I mean, 100 Thieves obviously have dropped in the academy. 100 Thieves Academy has dropped a couple games to Dig.
Yep.
And I think and no one really saw that coming. So I think it's under the same thing of people underestimated them, and then and people don't ban Big Wills at least in one trick, and then he just kind of gets a lead, right? So I think Dig might have be one of the it might be on the harder side. I agree, but I don't think even if their bracket's harder, I think they're just way better than CLG in the same where they still probably have our chance in making it out, even if it's the loser bracket compared to
Eh,
CLG. That is, I'm not
yeah,
saying I think
I
they can make it
agree.
out, but
I think Dig's pretty okay. Like you said, the game against 100 Thieves was really good. Will's Lee Sin looks pretty sick, and JJ was looking pretty good in that game too. And like Lorlo is on Gnar in both of the games. It feels like they just got all their one tricks actually. Like Lorlo's Gnar, and then the Lee Sin for Will, and then JJ played 2 games of Leona. It was a good day for them. And if they play like that again, then I think they'll be pretty good.
do you guys have
Okay.
6 teams that are going out? Do you guys have like 6 teams you guys think are going out? Do you guys have a list in your heads?
Yeah, I'd say so. I haven't thought too much about the bracket, but I think all 4 academy teams will make it, and then I think that it'll be EGP, and I think it'll be Zoos.
Gotcha.
That's my take anyway. I think TSM is gonna win the whole thing. Also, Cubby does not think that.
My
I
hot
don't think
take is
that
that
either.
Zeus win the whole thing.
I think if Zeus focus up and start performing, I also think Zeus can win it all.
I think that like Zeus, like of all the teams that are gonna match up best to TSM, like, the core of Zeus took down TSM. Like keep that in mind, right? I don't know. That's my hot take. I think that may not be agreed upon, but I think that Zeus, like if anyone, like any amateur team like has potential, like they can take him down.
I just want to see Zoos against CLG. That's what I want.
That'd be yeah.
If that matchup happens, then that's gonna be the best matchup of the whole tournament, I think. Like
I mean,
Tuesday Griffin against their old team. Oh yeah.
I
That'd be
think
pretty
there's
hype.
a
Amazing.
very high chance that happens unless Wildcard
Yeah.
Black somehow beats CLG or Dig M somehow beats. I think that's gonna be really
Wildcard
interesting.
Black's not bad. I think that one's actually more likely.
Really, I think that Wildcard
I-
Black are now that they don't
Yeah.
have Manui, I think they're very beatable. Even
Yeah,
though I'm
I
still a
think-
Quacker stan.
I'm not gonna downplay any. I'm not gonna talk bad about any players, but I don't think. I think. Yeah, I don't think Wildcard Black are very good. I know I'm gonna get Wildcard fans hating me, but
Yeah.
we played against them a lot. You used to play against the scrims, and we also beat them in tournament. And
Yeah.
I also think Menu leaving was their breaking point, and I also think that it's not even the fact that he left, it's why he'd have to leave, and that kind of it kind of shows the team. I'm so bad at talking. I think Minyu leaving kind of made the team really bad, but I think what's even worse is why Minyu would have to leave. That made the team is now making it internally not a very good team.
I see. That makes sense. I mean, just like team morale issues is always going to be an X factor of like why a team is not going to do well. And it's hard to see that on like in a game. I think, but
yeah.
Well, we'll see. I don't think they're that bad, but yeah. All right. Well, I think that just about wraps our UGP conversation. Now we get into the really important thing. Do you know what I'm about to ask you?
I actually feel like we've talked about everything. I can't think of anything.
I need to know the
Oh,
story of your picture. You got
Okay.
a bunch of Canadian money over the face of this person who you
And
said
the reasoning
isn't
behind
even
it,
you.
which I think is cool. I think the reasoning behind it's cool.
All right. Well, the player in the picture is the band AD carry Meech. I think that's he that's his picture. Obviously I'm friends with
Flashing
Meech,
some
but
sick bucks.
yeah, he
He's got the dosh.
after his unfortunate ban, he needed to remind everyone like what that proper work, right? And and he you know, he's I think he's one of the best. He's the best or second best AD carry in amateur, and I think
He's really good AD.
last season,
Yeah.
I kind of think a lot of people don't really think how good he is, and he has to flex that money and the proper chain to show everyone where he's gripping, you know. So I think it's
Good.
yeah,
Yeah,
got that money on him.
glad to see you representing your friend there. And I fully agree. Meech is amazing. Very good
Thank you.
player. It's a bummer of the circumstance there, but I mean, it seems like it's working out for him if that's the money that he's got for.
Oh yeah, he's balling. No, but I think I don't have a camera, so I can cam up, and then I wanted obviously
up.
I had confidence.
Never heard that phrase.
I had confidence that I'd make academy, so I'd be like, oh, probably. All my friends know what I look like, and I was debating on posting a picture of how I look like, but then I thought probably best if the first time people like community sees me, it would be on an academy announcement eventually, right?
That's hype.
So that's the reason. And then I was looking through. There was one really funny picture of me I was thinking about posting, and it was so funny that I almost got what's the word convinced to. But then I thought this is even better picture of a friend of mine, so I'll just do this instead. When this picture was
Nice.
taken, 4 of us in Discord changed our profile icons to this picture, so it feels like it just fit.
That's so good.
Oh, I like it. All right. Well, it's been a fun front. We'll say that as Chad
Yeah.
Jungle tries to pull off the heist with 100 Thieves. You know.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's just a front.
So you said your friends know what you look like. Does this mean that we are not friends?
I mean, I have a thing where
Cut the street.
where every couple of months I just me and my friends like fly out and just rent an Airbnb and just hang out for a couple of days.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I'd say most of my online friends don't even look what I look like. Okay, it's weird because I consider my online friends my friends because I meet up with them, bi-yearly.
Yeah.
So it's like but like people like random people in Seoul you don't know how to look like. Even like Seoul friends don't know how to look like, but like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's yeah, you don't feel too
I'm not trying to
on your
pressure
own
you or anything.
unless we meet up. You gotta you're not seeing this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. When you get into academy and then.
Yeah, I can't wait till we
when-
get dinner and then you put me higher on your list.
Ooh, yeah. You know what? It's a date, Chad Jungle.
Yeah, I'm glad.
We're booking it. That'll be good.
Pull up to LA. I'll be here.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think with that we can wrap up the show. No,
It's been an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Chad, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything you'd like to promote on our way out?
Yeah. Let me sorry, I gotta go. Let me scroll up really fast.
Just got the sponsor list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First shout out you guys for having me, and I need a deep breath. Yeah, I want to shout out Kitong, Philip, Tenacity, Tomo, Shaden, Mystique, Squiddersio, Brandon, Sergeant Roy, Instinct, Busio, Young, Gamsu, Guais, Puppet, Smithy, Fallen Bennett, Thomas, Finn, Nick, Jason Jungle, Pro, Fnet, Draco, Kenvi, Swidby, Winston, Poom, Trevor, Chink Shirts, Switchbox, Golden Glue, JBL, Cash App, AT&T, Dollar Shave Club, Truly, Lexus, Twisted Tea, Chipotle, Rockstar, Omen, Rocket Mortgage, StockX, Grubhub. Without these friends and family and sponsors, would not be able to win today.
Boom. Speed run.
Nice.
Just like how you're trying to speed run Challenger or the Challenger circuit, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I like it.
And if any of those people or organizations on the list would like to sponsor us, let us know. We're looking.
And
for
and also in chat, I'll shout out RBM, who's trying to become a better player, but is struggling. That's a shout out for him. A pity shout out. He'll get there. He's making it.
always believe.
Starts tweet, I'm gonna bully Instinct, end stream, I'm gonna bully RBM.
All right. Well,
Oh man.
Chad, thank you so much for being on the show. And you out there listening, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been episode 28 of the Proving Grounds pod. If you'd like to listen to more episodes or just watch our other stuff, you can follow us on Twitter at pgroundspod. And we also have all of our audio platforms. We got Twitch, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We got Spotify, we got Anchor, and we got Google. So you can check us out on all of those. And yeah, that's the end of the show. Do you have any last words, Cubby?
No, thanks so much for joining us, Chad Jungle. And best of luck moving into Proving Grounds, man. It's pretty awesome that you guys managed to qualify after Hunter Next was lost a tiebreaker in 12th to even get in the Tier 1. So you guys don't even have to play in Tier 1 this time around. That's pretty awesome. You're a big part of that. So congrats and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And that'll do it for the show. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good night.